My name is Haaroon, and I will be presenting our talk on Forsage Anatomy of a Smart Contract Pyramid Scheme. This is done in collaboration with Tyler Kell, who is our lovely chair, and myself, Sarah Allen, who is our IC3 program coordinator, Sarah Mikajon and Ari Jules, both in Cornell Tech, UCL, and with IC3. So let us start. Oh, next slide, please. Yes, perfect. So would anyone like to make some money? So I've heard of this new system which allows you to earn money for life. There's no risks, no work, and no downsides. And you earn in this incredible new thing, many of you've heard of, called Ethereum, which is great because the value only ever increases. The scheme is using an amazing new technology called smart contract, and it is scam proof. But before I tell you about the scheme, let me tell you about some histories of scams in the past. So let's travel back to the year 300 BC, where a Greek merchant took out an insurance policy using his cargo delivery ship as collateral. What he did was he promised to borrow money with the insurance policy and in return make a delivery of corn. However, his plan was to sink the ship, keep the money, and sell the corn. Unfortunately, he failed when trying to sink his ship, and he was caught with his crew and was unfortunately drowned in the act. Now, this is one of the first ever recorded cases of a scam, which is defined as a fraudulent scheme involving financial deception. It didn't just stop there in 300 BC. Humans continued to create scams. So 2,100 years later, in the late 1800s, Spitzer and Howe ran one of the world's first pyramid schemes, and they called this a ladies' deposit, and it promised ladies an 8% interest with deposited funds. And what the pair did was they stole today's equivalent of 400 million euros. Luckily, the schemers, they were caught and had all of their assets seized. What this brings me to is a definition of a pyramid scheme created by the SEC, which states that it's a type of fraud where participants profit by recruiting other people into their program. Now, we see pyramid schemes as very interesting and impactful because it gives us an insight into how scammers run a vast operation and how they can siphon large amounts of money from unsuspecting targets. From the examples I've shown, scams are old, as are financial scams, and over time they slightly change based on the technological advantages, which provide many new opportunities for scammers. So we go into our technical advances, and we go into crypto scams. Blockchain technology has, of course, become very, very popular, and so have some of the scams following them. Cryptocurrency is very convenient for a scammer because it's novel, allows you to have cross-border payments, and the mystery of the technology is very inspiring and awing to the potential victim who's probably unable to decipher this technology. Also, shows a lot of challenges for law enforcement, as it's very hard to recover, and the jurisdiction normally split across many, many countries. We'll discuss this later on. So past notable scams in blockchains include OneCoin, which in 2016 was a fake decentralized blockchain, and the victim somehow invested over $4 billion. In 2018, we see something called BitConnect, which is a Ponzi scheme, or it promised returns of 1% per day, and saw an investment of over $3.5 billion from their victims. We also can't forget Plus Token and Woe Token, which both collected over $1 billion from their victims.
So the public nature of blockchain data makes blockchain pyramid schemes an important area of research as the first time we can truly understand these scams. The data we can access about the blockchain pyramid schemes creates the first insight into how the scam works, how much is truly gained and lost, how many people have been involved, and how the scam develops over time with a history of every involved transaction. So now for that opportunity that Haaroon mentioned earlier to make some money. So to our knowledge, our study of Forsage offers the first precise quantification of payouts and losses in any large pyramid scheme, internet-based or historical. This research was made possible by the properties of blockchain technology. We characterize the Forsage pyramid scheme by answering questions including, how does the code work? How much money was made and lost? How is it marketed? And how can we combat schemes of this nature? So firstly, for how Forsage works. Forsage is advertised as a matrix multi-level marketing program, although it has no product. And to qualify as a multi-level marketing scheme rather than a pyramid scheme, according to the US SEC, a product must be sold. Forsage began as an Ethereum smart contract, which went live on January 31st of 2020. Additional smart contracts have been launched on Tron, Ethereum, and Binance Smart Chain, now totaling 6 total smart contracts. And the smart contract does not store any funds. Users interact with Forsage via dashboard on the forsage.io official website. And it points you to user-friendly crypto tools like MetaMask and Trust Wallet, which we'll mention later. And it provides crypto and Forsage tutorials for novice users. Forsage users join with a referral code, which places them in the pyramid. So for the Forsage structure, the users interact with the Forsage project via the forsage.io official website, which provides the dashboard that you see here. They use this website to send money to the contract, and the Forsage Ethereum smart contract, which is what you're looking at the dashboard here for, has 2 programs, X3 and X4. You can see the X3 structure here. So the dashboard shows the referral link here with the ID, and this is for the contract creator, which is its ID number 1. And you can see they've made quite a lot of money. The dashboard shows the 12 slots of the program, which increase in value of the amount of Ethereum you must send the contract to open the slots. So you can see they start here at 0.025 ETH and then range all the way up to 51.2 ETH, and they must be purchased in sequence. Beneath the slot, you can see that there are 3 circles. Those represent the 3 users that must be recruited using the user's referral link in order to quote unquote fill the slot. So once the slot is filled, the slot is opened by sending that amount of money, so 0.025 ETH to the smart contract. Then once 3 additional users have joined using the referral code, so you'll see they've recruited 3 people, then the contract cycles, quote unquote, cycles through, meaning that the user is paid back their initial buy-in for it. So they'll be paid back 0.025 ETH. However, they can only cycle through the contract a couple of times, so make money, before payment will be blocked to the user if they don't continue to open up subsequent slots. So here you can see the structure of X4, which is the other half of the Ethereum smart contract. And you can see that it ranges up with 12 slots in increasing amounts from 0.025 ETH to 51.2 ETH again. However, you can see that there are 6 circles underneath the user here in X4, so they must recruit 6 additional users with their referral code each time in order to earn back their initial buy-in. So you'll see here, same amount of money, 0.025 ETH, ranging up to 51.2 ETH. They must recruit 6 additional users, meaning 6 users have sent the contract 0.025 ETH using their code, at which point the slot will cycle through, paying the user back their funds. X4 also contains a concept called spillover, which Haaroon will explain the technical background of later. But the spillover is basically a way to earn money not directly through recruiting, however, it is rare.
So here I'll show you a brief demo or a portion of some of this Solidity code, which we took from Etherscan. The promotion materials state that the system is trustworthy because the source code is open and it guarantees the purity of its conditions. But this 300 source code sample is of the 452 line Ethereum contract, which has purposely been obfuscated. And the schemers use this as a way to exploit the openness against people who are unfortunately not very technical. So to understand this, we wrote a smart contract simulator. And what we did was we combined Python with the Go Ethereum software. We launched a private Ethereum network, and then we mine transactions, then use an OpenVis tool to print PDFs of the state at each time. But we've discovered that the contract actually scrambles position in the pyramid, and complete people who you haven't even recruited or unrelated to you can appear within your slots. For example, in the example here, we have someone called Quebec who originally had nothing to do with a person called Charlie. But however, when Sierra registered underneath their name, they were added to their link. This in turn, in fact, affects the logic that determines the flow of the payments. So here we've got a flowchart of the X4 system, which is the most complicated of the 2 matrix systems that they push around. What you can see here is that the logic, the person who gets paid, is very, very complicated. And basically it resolves into 2 things. Either people who are higher up in your tree will get paid, or you pay the owner of the smart contract. And 3 of the 4 paths actually here go towards paying the owner of the contract. The X3 chart is very similar, but you can see the paper if you want to learn more about that. So now we know about how it works. Now we're going to talk about who won and who lost money. So as we said before, we believe our analysis is one of the most complete of a pyramid scheme to date. So Forsage was in fact a very, very popular smart contract. And in the summer of 2020, it had surpassed the number of transactions done even by Uniswap. They released 4 contracts within the first year, which accumulated about 267 million USD. Between April and August 2020, the Forsage contract itself had one of the highest search traffics in Google among the other contracts that we looked for. And they also had recruited over 1 million users, which is quite sad. Now, the schemers didn't stop there. In fact, they diversified their portfolios and made an additional 3 extra contracts. They repeated the Matrix contract onto Tron, then created a brand new product called Xcode, and then repeated that again onto Ethereum. However, during our research, we discovered that someone had copied the Ethereum Matrix contract and deployed it onto Tron before they could. Someone has actually tried to scam the scammers, and this called the official scam website to have a warning on it, telling people to stick to only official resources, which we thought was very funny. So the winners and the losers of the contract. So 98% of users that we looked at didn't actually exist or hadn't received anything before Forsage had come through. Over of the 1 million Ethereum addresses that had been registered to the Matrix contract in Ethereum only, 11% of them, so like 123,000, and a profit of 265,000 Ethereum. This means that 88% of the people who had registered had lost collectively 305 Ethereum, an average lost 0.33 Ethereum. So they unlocked one of the slots and then fortunately had lost out from there on. But if we look at the people who had made the most money, well, as it's a pyramid, it'll be pretty obvious that the owner of the contract, in fact, made the most money. And the 5 most profitable users made over 14,000 Ethereum between them, which is around 5.4% of the profits. And these 5 people are only what, 0.0004% of all the users. If you look at it from the entire pyramid, the top 1,000 users made 50% of the profits. And this is out of over 1 million users.
So how was Forsage marketed? How did they attract these over 1 million users that Haaroon just mentioned? So Forsage has active promotional communities on YouTube, Telegram, and Facebook. And the Forsage leaders, as well as Forsage users, use these to recruit new users, generate enthusiasm, and also to educate users on how to use Forsage and blockchain technology. So in order to get a sense of user expectations when joining the system, we watched the 10 most viewed English language YouTube videos that contained Forsage in the title and coded repeated claims. So here you'll see that we broke those claims up into 4 major categories: claims about wealth, claims about risk, Ethereum education, and education about how to use Forsage. So firstly, education about Ethereum. The Forsage promoters use claims about the properties of Ethereum and smart contracts to mislead users. Videos promoting Forsage provide a basic primer on what Ethereum is and what a smart contract is to make the scam approachable to all those novice users that Haaroon mentioned had never interacted with cryptocurrency before using the Forsage contract. They recommend user-friendly tools like MetaMask, which is a cryptocurrency browser extension, and Trust Wallet, which is a fiat accepting exchange, so that users who are new to cryptocurrency can participate in Forsage easily. Forsage promoters use claims about wealth to attract users and make them send money to the contract. So their users are told they can make unlimited money forever, which includes passive income by sending money to Forsage. They use examples of users who've made money and never show users who've not succeeded, although the vast majority of users didn't succeed. Forsage users are told that there are no risks to joining and that Forsage cannot be a scam because the code for the contract is open source. Although, as we saw earlier, the code is not particularly easy to read even for blockchain experts. They're also told that because the contract does not store funds, no one can steal their money. And they're told that Ethereum smart contracts are scam-proof and secure because they cannot be stopped. So who are these users who joined Forsage? We analyzed social media data for users posting about Forsage in order to gain a sense of active users' locations. And we found that although the founders are Russian and have public profiles, users are not. So Forsage channels are very active in Nigeria, Western and Southern Africa, and then also the Philippines and Venezuela.
So is it possible to stop these schemes, and has anyone actually tried to stop them? Multiple regulators have actually issued releases about Forsage being a scam. Most notably, the Philippines SEC issued a cease and desist against them. And the Seaside Montana State in the United States also issued a cease and desist, in March of 2021. However, as of today, the scheme is still actually fully operational, and Forsage did have a response claiming that it's completely out of these jurisdictions and unfortunately can't be stopped. How about countermeasures? Is there a way we can prevent people from being scammed? So as Sarah mentioned, Forsage users are largely targeted within a few countries. So we could target these users specifically there to warn them about pyramids and how the pyramids operate. So someone could also create a user dashboard showcasing the loss per users, and these may act as effective counter solutions. Some other previous research has actually shown that blocklisting and blocking addresses can effectively combat scams and illicit activity. There are two organizations which actively do this in the space. They're called the Crypto Defenders Alliance and the Crypto Safe Alliance, and they operate block lists which people can subscribe to. However, we have to be very careful because blocking addresses can be biased and they can act as a form of censorship, which completely negates the point of using cryptocurrencies. So, in conclusion, we presented an overview of the complexity of the scheme, showcasing how the obfuscated code led to changes in the pyramid. We showed that the founders and early adopters definitely earned the most money, with the 5 most profitable users earning 5% of all the profits. We demonstrated that the scheme is very well organized and extremely well marketed, with a massive global outreach across multiple social media platforms and even multiple languages, not just only English. Law enforcement have tried to shut down the scheme, but unfortunately, their efforts have not yet worked.
So now for some of the wacky things you find while researching a crypto pyramid scheme. While most internet niche communities will have some wildness to them, we thought that some parts of the Forsage and crypto pyramid scheme online ecosystem were so wild that they belong in an academic research talk. So firstly, the Forsage founder, Lado Okotnikov. So the founder of Forsage has multiple public profiles and clearly identifies himself and his location on social media, showing no sense that he is worried about being caught. He geotags himself regularly and seems to travel freely across national borders. He takes a lot of selfies, and he, as you can see here on his Instagram, mostly his own face, and his public Facebook profile in which he identifies himself as the founder of Forsage. He also utilizes his personal social media to help unsuspecting Forsage users avoid being scammed. You'll see here, he doesn't want them to fall for cheap scams. So nextly, Vitaly Dubinin. So Vitaly Dubinin is one of the most prominent Forsage promoters. You can see him here having an interview with Lado Okotnikov, the Forsage founder, on the official Forsage YouTube channel. You can see him here leading Forsage webinars about how to grow crypto wealth with Forsage. Vitaly Dubinin also sued Arthur Hayes from BitMEX for financial crimes, specifically market manipulation and unregistered trading. Nothing has happened with the case yet, so it is unclear whether Mr. Dubinin will get his justice. And then Forsage promotion. So Forsage has officially produced some truly bizarre promotional materials. So on the left, you can see here a man rapping in Russian in a Bali mansion about getting rich using Forsage in an officially commissioned video. And then on the right here, you can see an official Forsage promoter lecturing an empty conference center about the virtues of Forsage, including the particularly notable quote, "At the core of the Forsage Code are the principles of the International Declaration of Human Rights." And then lastly, for the scam run by a dead man. So here you can see our earlier figure in which we showed the most transacted Ethereum smart contracts in the summer of 2020, which included another contract called MMMBSC, which is another pyramid scheme. MMMBSC Global is a copycat of a Russian scam that took off in the aftermath of the fall of the Soviet Union in the 1990s. It claims to be an automated decentralized mutual aid system and runs using an Ethereum smart contract. It still uses pictures of the original founder of MMMBSC Global as though he currently runs the blockchain project, and his name is Sergey Mavrodi. The only problem being that Sergey Mavrodi died in 2018, 2 years before the smart contract launched. So the scam is claiming to be run by a dead man. So thank you for your attention today. You can find our full paper on arXiv, and we are happy to take any questions.
Okay, we have about 7.5 minutes for questions. I don't see any in the chat right now, but if not, then we can take a small break and come back at 30. It looks like Phil has a question in the chat. I can read it to you guys. Did any of the authors buy in to the smart contract?
Fortunately not. When we did our research, we realized it was far too late to join the scheme.
Yeah, we did notice that there does not seem to be a lot of overlap between the academic blockchain research community and the blockchain pyramid scheme community.
But now there's a couple more questions coming in. I do want to point out that they did not stop making new scam contracts. They're on Binance Smart Chain now, so they have like gone on to new smart contracts. But the next question is, what was the most common on-ramp for users to get crypto to participate?
So they use something called Trust Wallet, which is advertised in all the official Forsage promotional videos, and they have officially produced tutorials showing users how to trade fiat for Ethereum in order to participate in the scam.
Are they misrepresenting the smart contract and therefore clearly scamming, or is it represented as an MLM?
So it's definitely represented as some sort of multi-level marketing scheme where you have to recruit users in, but they use a smart contract as a face in order to try to say that it's not a scam. It's the code is public. You can go and read it, but I mean, everyone knows it's very difficult to read obfuscated GitHub code, or especially if it's on a smart contract like Ethereum. Tyler spent months writing a custom simulator to understand how it worked. And if we had to get professional to spend months figuring out how it worked, clearly these users who just went into it had no idea what they were doing.
So I'm going to skip Mahimna's question. We can come back to it. I have a question relating to wallet age at the top of the pyramid. Any reason behind the discrepancy? So they're talking about wallet age and rank in the pyramid.
So we did find that the early adopters of the contract did earn a lot of the money, but and we did look into it deeply, but we maybe believe that some of them could be actually linked together because they did send money between some of their wallets. By wallet age, well, I guess you mean the older the wallet you have, the more the scam you've been in, or the earlier you got into the scam, the more money you made. But the earlier you got in doesn't also necessarily mean how much money you made, because you still need to recruit more users as the scam evolves over time.
Mahimna wanted to know whether the authors started a similar scheme, whether they moved on to new schemes.
So they did. So when we showed the paper, we showed 4 schemes, right? With Ethereum, 2 on Ethereum and 2 on Tron. They now have made 2 more on Binance using Binance USD. They're also making another one called Forsage XXX. And the website looks really, really cool now. It looks much better than it did before. So clearly this scheme is, these people are unstoppable and just continuing to make more and more schemes and buy more people.
I got a question on, oh, I meant the authors, Mahimna was joking, I guess. So we have a question, can governance play a role in preventing schemes like this? I'm not sure what kind of governance they're envisioning, but.
Well, if you mean governance like in Ethereum, we can potentially add a block list to prevent people from sending money to the contract, it's probably possible, but then again, it defeats the entire purpose of having an open source like decentralized blockchain. And perhaps the best way of attack would be to go after the exchanges that allow these users or these scammers to cash out their money and catch them from there, as many past research has shown us that going after the money is always the best way to stop these kind of schemes.
Hey guys, I just had a quick question about what you think in terms of prevalence and intent. So if you think that, because I've seen a bunch of different schemes that look like they're pyramid schemes, but they're kind of under some facade. They seem like there's some magic that people can be buying into. So it's unclear to me if even the creators understand that they may not have intent, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And I guess what I'm trying to ask is, of the projects that you guys have come across, have you gotten any clear indicator that intent is also prevalent there? I know that's very hard to prove, but do you feel like the majority of the pyramid schemes that you guys have kind of come across have also had intent?
So I will say that we noticed somewhat of a formula in terms of the promotion and the claims that they make, and then also the language that they use around them. It's probably not an accident that the Forsage promoters tend to make videos in fancy, extravagant places. They make claims, they're pitching these things specifically targeting people in developing economies. And they're making claims about the technical properties of Ethereum, protecting users, and then teaching users how to use Ethereum in order to interact with it. They're not pitching this to people who would already know how to use Ethereum, have existing wallets, or have any expertise. So it does seem like they're pretty clearly taking advantage of novice users and lack of knowledge around Ethereum and crypto.